My name is Mark Ryan. I'm going to walk you through a concept I'm calling the Zero Trust Interconnect. This relies on having two different tenants. I've got them called C1 Customer 1 and C2 Customer 2, two different tenants. This one here is I'm using Zscaler production, so private.zscaler.com for this app connector here. And that's tied to my Zscaler 2 instance. And I'm using Zscaler beta or beta on the right hand side and ZPA beta. And so there's a cloud connector here deployed in AWS that is able to connect through the Zero Trust Exchange to an app connector that's running in my data center to advertise these two applications. App 1 is my ESX server, and my SIEM here is a syslog ng server. And so what this relies on is the user here tries to access the resource, and it comes through the Zero Trust Exchange and is advertised by this app connector. And this app connector resolves it using Route 53 and the security policy that goes around cloud connectors. To resolve it here against this cloud connector, it routes through the cloud connector and comes back through here to access the resource. So I can now start to share, and conceptually I could end up with any number of app connectors for different partners in here, connecting through this cloud connector and taking this path. The other thing that's happening is these logs, the logs that are generated from this tenant for these applications flow through this way and end up at an app segment, which is the syslog server. So let me kind of show you how that looks. So I've got my ESX server here, I've got my syslog server here. They're advertised through a server group, which is London, and that's related to those that connector group, this connector group down here, to access these resources. If I look into my Cloud Connector portal, I've got my instances for the Cloud Connector actually running here, so they're connected there. And I have a policy which is just simple and saying forward these any ZPA resources to the ZPA cloud. So it's all enrolled as you'd expect. The Zscaler beta site does seem to be a little bit on the slow side, and we'll come back to that. There we go. So app segments forward here. On the Zscaler 2 side, I'm advertising this application ESX for partners. It's in a segment group called Partner Access, a server group called Partner Access. And what that allows me to do in my access policy is then say, okay, well, if I've got an attribute which says I'm a partner, I'm only allowed to access that group. And I get denied access to everything else. From a client forwarding policy perspective, only forward allowed applications, so the partners only get to see the applications they're allowed to see, which is defined by the access policy, so the users can only see that ESX server. The other thing that I've done in the client connector portal, I've got an app profile called Partners, which is assigned to those groups, which basically says to get this specific forwarding profile, and from the forwarding profile perspective, partners essentially only get Zscaler private access. They get no Zscaler internet access. There is no service entitlement for Zscaler internet access. You have to have it, or create a different tenant. So that's kind of the setup. Let me kind of show you how that works. So we'll open up Zscaler here. So I sign in as mryan at, no I'm not, I'm going to sign in as partner at welshgeek.net. This will redirect me to the IDP, and at this point I want to select Zscaler 2. And I sign in here. and we should all be connected. I also get ZDX because that's part of my tenant. Zscaler internet access is disabled, and Zscaler private access seems to want me to re-authenticate again for some bizarre reason. Best kept demos. So we're all up and running. So if I open up Safari now and I go to http esx.wellsgeek.net, all things being equal, it should display the web page. There we go. A little bit slow because of the beta cloud. A little bit slow because it's tromboning all the way over to Virginia and back. So there's a little bit of architecture that could be done to make this a little bit better. But once we're connected and we've got the tunnels up, we're all looking good. So here's all my networking and everything. It's behaving itself. So let's just come back over here and see what the logs look like. So from the beta side, what is it seeing? So it sees connections to the ESX server, and it sees the user as being the cloud connector connecting in, and the host is the local machine 192.168.1.1. So that's physically in my network from the London cloud connector. It also sees a user of the cloud connector connecting to the syslog server on port 11,000. So that's not the logs from this tenant, although this tenant is logging. It is the logs from the Zscaler 2 tenant. So if we come over to Zscaler 2, which is the traffic from the actual user, the client device, we can see that the user here made a request. So it was partner@wellsgeek.net, so we know the user at that point. They actually accessed 172.33.17.201. If I come back to the diagram, that is what Route 53 resolves that ESX server 2, which is an IP address that exists here within the cloud connector. Come back to those logs, and then see what we see there is all the user accesses. However, if we go to the logs here, we've got a log stream here called for partner called syslog. It's going to the syslog.wellsgeek.net on port 11,000. Again, that is this resolving to the syslog here, connecting through over here. And so it says anything where it's the private access partners users, we're going to log and we're going to send it through through that log stream. So what does that end up looking like? Let's go connect to server connect. So here is my LSS logs, which for some bizarre reason we have a permissions error. We will come back and look at the logs in a second because there's a connectivity problem with the logs. But the logs would show the logs for the Zscaler beta tenant. So Zscaler beta logs they go here to the actual server 192.168.1.2. So that's logging everything from this tenant there, and the Zscaler 2 tenant says, well, I'm going to send them through the cloud connector to the log server as well. So we get logs from the 2, which then means that we can correlate, because we see the source port, destination port, we see the user access in one, and we see the cloud connector access in the other. altogether means that we can start to share applications with lots of different partners, bridging the connections through a secure VPC environment that only allows connectivity from those app connectors to the cloud connectors and through to my tenant. Any questions? Let me know. Mark at zscaler.com. Cheers. Bye.